Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. If you're all enjoying your day, sweet. If not, what the hell ever. So today, we've got a bit of a weird one-ish, because it was a subject that I had a bit of a memory of that I wanted to finally come back to once and for all, and that was MVP's 4.5-month-long losing streak that he had on television in WWE. So, from the backstory, from what I recall, the reason that this losing streak began was because he made a certain remark to the doctor that was in charge of administering the wellness policy, like urine tests, and because of that, it caused MVP to get heat backstage, and this became his extensive punishment. So, it's going all the way from August 29, 2008 episode of SmackDown all the way until about mid-January, where MVP's lock is just dead. So let's go over these matches. I'm going to try my best to keep them in order. I'm going based on cage match, but some things are a little out of order, but I'm still going to cover it anyway. So first of all, the whole thing began August 29, 2008 episode of SmackDown, where he loses the match in about 19 and a half minutes to Jeff Hardy. Now, nothing wrong with losing a long match. Doesn't necessarily mean really much of anything, at least at the start. Then the following week, now we're getting right before Unforgiven, the September 5th, 2008 episode of SmackDown, he loses to Shelton Benjamin in under 4 minutes. Not good there. Now, at this point, MVP had already qualified for the Championship Scramble match at Unforgiven, where 2 men start, other participants enter at 5-minute intervals, and you can get a decision at any time during the match, and if you do, you are what's declared the interim champion, and whoever is the interim champion at the end of the time limit, which is 5 minutes after the last entrant comes in, is the recognized official champion. So, it was Triple H defending the title against Jeff Hardy, MVP, Shelton, and the Brian Kendrick. Unfortunately, MVP got no decisions in this match. He got pinned once, but he got absolutely no decisions in this match, so not really the best look there for him. And we would also see that this losing streak would have an effect on him with what you would see on television. Now, after Unforgiven, on the September 12, 2008 episode of SmackDown, he would lose a fatal 4-way match to Jeff Hardy, who was the winner of the match, Shelton Benjamin, and the Brian Kendrick, where Jeff Hardy, as a result of his victory, became the number 1 contender to Triple H's WWE Championship at No Mercy. And we're going to see a lot of some of this stuff getting repeated with MVP coming up in just a moment. But the next week, September 19, 2008 episode of SmackDown, in about 14 minutes, he loses a singles match to Triple H. Yeah, it was whatever though. Then you get to a common trope that we would see here with tag matches, because the September 24th, I believe. Let me double check on the date here, because this is where things go iffy. Okay, sorry, September 26th episode of SmackDown, because the taping dates will get a little bit off compared to when they would air. The September 26th episode, 2008 episode of SmackDown, Jeff Hardy and Triple H defeat MVP and the Brian Kendrick in a tag match. And as you will see within these tag matches, MVP is the one that keeps taking the pin. So, I kind of feel sorry for him. Now, next up, October 3rd, 2008 episode of SmackDown, 8-man tag match. Batista, Finlay, Jeff Hardy, and Rey Mysterio. They defeat the team of JBL, Kane, MVP, and the Brian Kendrick in less than 16 minutes. Then the following week, October 10, 2008 episode of SmackDown, in about 11.5 minutes, he fails to defeat Jeff Hardy. That's going to be a recurring thing when he gets in the ring with Jeff. I guess it's redemption from SummerSlam. Then the following week, October 17, 2008 episode of SmackDown, in less than 3 minutes, he loses to R-Truth. Short match does not do you any favors, and neither does losing R-Truth at that moment, just because the R-Truth character had not been around for that long on television. Like, I know he was K-Quick during his first run, but this is a new character, trying to get himself established and everything, and he's losing to MVP, or defeating MVP, who had been around for a couple of years by this point. So, a new upcoming character defeats an established character in a short match. Then the next week, October 24, 2008 episode of SmackDown, R-Truth and Kung Fu Naki. When they added that stupid karate Asian racist stereotype gimmick to Funaki, indeed, defeating MVP and Shelton Benjamin in under 4 minutes. Then the week after that, Halloween 2008. Jeff, Matt Hardy, and Rey Mysterio defeat Kane, Mark Henry, and MVP in a 6-man tag match in about 11 minutes. Not ideal there either. Then you get to Raw, because there's some times in here where the brand split means nothing. The November 3rd, 2008 episode of Raw, Matt and Jeff defeat MVP and the Brian Kendrick. Because once again, MVP's got to take that good old pin. Then, the next episode of SmackDown, November 7, 2008, he loses to the Great Khali in less than 2.5 minutes. And the Great Khali is about to become a big thorn in his side coming up here. Then you get to the next week, they're starting to do these whole overseas shows and everything because they got the European tour. So the next one on the November 14, 2008 episode of SmackDown, in less than a minute and a half after a distraction by the Great Khali, he loses to Kung Fu Nagi. You lose a match in under a minute and a half because you got distracted by the Great Khali, and you lose to a lower card guy. That did not work for him at all. Then the next week after that, because they taped 2 episodes on the same day, but the next match was the November 21st, 2008 episode of SmackDown. He loses to Journeyman James Mason. Because once again, the Great Khali causes the distraction, and he loses in a little over a minute. So now he's getting to the point where he loses to No Names. Like, that's gotta be a thorn in the side. And it was also because of this time we also saw MVP's presentation change, because he would start to lose the furniture and within his MVP lounge show. He lost the inflatable tube entrance that he had there. The only thing he had was the pyro and the whole shouting of "I'm coming," which I lost count how many times I've said that in my life. Then you get to Survivor Series 10-man tag, or traditional 10-man tag. Team Shawn Michaels defeats Team JBL. MVP did get a small bit of redemption because less than 2 minutes into the match, he eliminates JTG. Just like, hey, there's something good, but then within 10 seconds, he gets pinned by the Great Khali. Just like, yay, hopeful moment, and then it crumbles. Sorry about that, MVP. Like, sometimes your luck runs out. Then, this is where the order kind of gets a little bit iffy with Cage Match, because the taping kind of gets a little bit out of order. But the next one, we once again completely ignored the brand split. December 2, 2008 episode of ECW. He loses a singles match to Matt Hardy in about 13.5 minutes. So, longest singles match that he has had up to this point since... Well, longer than the match he had against Jeff Hardy on the October 10, 2008 episode of SmackDown. And a little bit shorter than the Triple H match that he had back in late September. But still a loss once again. Then you get to the December 5th, 2008 episode of SmackDown. Because this one airs out of order. It's like, it was taped before ECW, but in under 4 minutes, he loses to Hurricane Helms. What's up with that? I would love to know. Then after this is where it really gets embarrassing, because on the December 8th, 2008 episode of Raw, so once again, no brand split here, even though this was the episode of Raw with the Slammy Awards, he loses to Charlie Haas in 3 minutes, back when Charlie Haas was doing his impersonation gimmick, where he was pretending to be MVP here, being known as MVC, Most Valuable Charlie, rather than Montel Ventavious Porter. So, now you're losing to a guy who is a comedy character, very low on the totem pole, and he's impersonating you. Oh, man. Then after this, on the December 12, 2008 episode of SmackDown, he loses to R-Truth in under 4 minutes. So R-Truth has really got his number. The week after this, the December 19, 2008 episode of SmackDown, he loses with Shelton Benjamin in about 5.5 minutes to Hurricane Helms and R-Truth. And Hurricane Helms, I know he was just kind of getting back to regular wrestling and everything, and the whole, what's up with that? And I'm just saying type of vignettes, but this really is not helping your career there. Let's be real there, MVP. Then the week after this, the December 26, 2008 episode of SmackDown, so right after Christmas, he once again loses to the Great Khali in about 2 minutes. WWE was really pissed at you, weren't they? And then we get to the final match of the losing streak, which was really bizarre. the January 2nd, 2009 episode of SmackDown. He loses to Kazarni in 6.5 minutes. You remember Kazarni, right? No? I mean, you know, that guy who was known as Sin Bodhi, and for a long time he kept being promoted in every single or every indie show ever. Like, it didn't matter where it happened. He loses to Kazarni in Kazarni's SmackDown debut match in about 6.5 minutes. This was like the first of 2 or 3 televised matches Kazarni had on the main roster, and then he was gone not too long after this. So you lose to a guy who was given weird vignettes speaking Carney that I'm not gonna bother reciting. He beats you in a SmackDown debut match with no hyper build to it, and then the guy who you lost to is gone not too long after that. Bum bum bum. Not loving it. I know it's not the exact thing. And then his luck finally turned around because 2 weeks later, the January 16, 2009 episode of SmackDown, he defeats The Big Show in around 15 minutes in a last man standing match, which got Triple H back into the Royal Rumble match. And this turned MVP babyface because he wanted to fight in Triple H's honor. But of course it looked like as a joke, it's like, oh, you can't beat anybody. I mean, hell, you can't even beat your own dick. Anyway. But he finally won a match after 4.5 months. MVP won a match. I believe Triple H got involved, if I remember serving correctly, but still, MVP won. So now he's a good guy. I mean, yeah, then he would lose the next couple matches, being the Royal Rumble and a qualifying Battle Royal for the Elimination Chamber, but then he started to win matches again. Because then he would beat Chavo Guerrero in a couple singles matches and Shelton Benjamin. He beat them both in a handicap match. He qualified for Money in the Bank. Then he had some tag match losses, a couple like after this. But then, of course, he had stuff like with CM Punk. He became, and Kofi Kingston with a tag match. And then he became United States Champion all of a sudden in March 2009. So it's like you don't win that many matches and then all of a sudden you're U.S. Champion after going 4.5 months losing. So yeah, this was pretty crazy. Like, you would, that's, let's face it, that's worse heat than Triple H got after the curtain call. Because I already discussed this on the podcast a while back with his 1996 quote-unquote punishment. Because, like, when Triple H got heat for breaking kayfabe with a curtain call in May of 96, they put him so low to where he was beating unknown named guys, like Marty Garner and stuff like that, but losing to known name guys like Mark Merrow and Ahmed Johnson, etc., etc. But MVP, because of a remark he made at the doctor who was administering these piss tests for the wellness policy, had heat so bad that he was losing to up-and-coming guys who had not been around, who had just debuted on television with these characters, lower card guys that were essentially like comedic looking characters, even though they were pretty poor taste, and an impersonation character too, and a character slash wrestler who is essentially a complete unknown name. Like, my gosh, like, props to MVP for toughing it out during all this, but holy crap, like, I don't think anybody ever took this guy seriously in WWE for the rest of his run here. Because, like, he would be gone by the end of 2010. I mean, it's like, yeah, I think this one United States title run that I just mentioned there where he won it back again, this was, like, probably the only other title reign that he had, because I don't think he won anything else. This was like, this did not do his career any favors. Like I said, the presentation changed, and when you go on a losing streak, it's hard to really rebound after that. But anyway, let me know in the comment section below, for anybody who remembers this period for MVP with his losing streak, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. It's just like, man, you really upset WWE there, MVP. But yeah, like I said, subscribe with the bell turned on with notifications here, folks. Comment what you thought below, like, and all that stuff, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching, listening, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.